Laws of Prosperity. It is a fabulous book, and we've been going through the month of June, each a law at a time. The first week, for those of you who were here, was the very first law of prosperity, which is tithing. Tithing. Tithing is one of those spiritual practices that every major religion teaches. Everybody who does it claims that it is the source of their prosperity, and everybody who wants prosperity refuses to do it. It's a fascinating thing. And so we talked about that week 1. Last week we talked about goal setting and how we have to direct our faith. We can't just have faith for God to bring us something, we need to direct it. And I used the example of, it would be as if we called up, we got a catalog in the mail and we liked their stuff and we called them and said, hey, I really like your stuff, send me something you think I'd like. God can't do that. We have to make the order. And so last week we talked about setting goals, and that's how we make the order. And this week, we are talking, as Stephanie's song so beautifully introduced, we are talking about forgiveness. Forgiveness is another one of those things that every major religion tells you is the key to everything. 12-step talks about it. All religions say it's the key to your health, your prosperity, your peace of mind, your success on every level. And yet, like tithing, we resist forgiving. We just want to cling to those resentments and those hurts and that anger, and we gotta let it go. So that's Edwin Gaines's third law, is forgiveness. Forgiveness. Really what that means is giving forth. Giving forth. We give first. That's what tithing is too, by the way, only that's the more technical thing of actually giving your money first. This is giving your love first, before the other person does anything to deserve it. And the thing I like about forgiveness is we sometimes say, if we've been hurt, we say, well, I'll forgive so on and so forth when they apologize, or when they make it right, or when they pay me back, or when they do whatever. And my great analogy for that is this. That's like saying to a wood stove, I'll put some wood in you once you give me some heat. Can't happen. Can't happen. Not just doesn't or won't. Can't happen. We must love first. We must love first. And how do we love first? We forgive. So we're going to talk about forgiveness. The F word. Kathy didn't tell me she was going to say that, as you guys probably know this. I love it. I'm going to use that. The other F word. The first thing that we need to do if we want to embrace a life of forgiveness, because we are not a forgiving society. We are not a forgiving culture. I actually saw something on Facebook recently, last night I think, about how steeped we are as a culture in blame and shame. And that's the opposite of forgiveness. The one thing we got to do, the first thing we got to do, and it's in the Bible, I think it is Jesus' most important admonition: judge not. Judge not. Judge not, lest you be judged. Edwin Gaines tells this great story in the book. She's from the South, and she says that her grandmother was this old Southern lady who used to every night sit in her rocking chair with her chaw and her spittoon, and she'd rock and watch the evening news. And the town where Edwin grew up, they started a thing where they started listing the names of women who were arrested for prostitution as a way to kind of shame them into better behavior. And so Edwin's grandmother would sit there and rock and spit, and every time she'd see these women, she'd say, those hussies, those hussies, those hussies. Well, Edwin was on the spiritual path and thought she, you know how when we first start on the spiritual path, you want to correct everybody else's consciousness first, work on your own later. But, so she thought she'd kind of help out her grandma on this one a little bit. She sat down with grandma and she explained the idea of karma. And she said, you know what karma is, grandma? And grandma said no. She goes, well, anything you judge in this life, you're destined to come back and live in the next life. So the next night, grandma gets there in a rocking chair and turns on the TV with her spittoon and watching the list of the prostitutes and goes, well, bless their hearts. Judge not. Judge not. But isn't that what we do, is we judge? When, especially if we are hurt, we want to judge that other person as wrong, as bad. as mean, as, whatever word we want to use, abusive, whatever. Okay, you can do that. I do it. We all do it. Let it go at some point sooner rather than later. Because here's what happens when we judge. We put out a pulse of energy that is a level of unforgiveness and anger that resonates out into the world, and by the law of attraction, attracts back to us exactly that emotion. There have been studies done, I've talked about it in classes, I've talked about it here, and I'm going to say it again. There have been studies done on rats. The most famous is the phenobarbital study. So you've probably heard me tell this before, those of you who have, just bear with me. In the 1970s, neuroscientists injected rats with phenobarbital. First, they taught them how to run a maze, and the rats would run the maze, and they'd learn it, and they'd figure out how to run the maze. And then they'd inject them with phenobarbital, and the rats could no longer run the maze. And so they drew the very reasonable scientific conclusion that phenobarbital inhibits our cognitive abilities. Something we know without the phenobarbital, then we don't know with it, okay? And so that was used for years. Phenobarbital is a very important drug for people who have brain problems or seizures or things like that. And so they give it, but with the warning that this could hurt your cognitive reasoning abilities while you're taking it. It could save your life, but here's one of the side effects. Well, in the year 2000, a group of brain scientists got together and they were looking at this study, and they had a thought, and so they decided to do it the other way. So they injected the rats with phenobarbital and taught them how to run the maze. And then they detoxed the rats and got them off the phenobarbital and found the rats couldn't run the maze when they weren't on the phenobarbital. So there were other studies done in this long-standing study, but here's what they come up with from that. When we are in a certain state of consciousness, we cannot reach a different state without an act of will. It doesn't just happen. So whether it's the phenobarbital or not, we vibrate at certain levels, at certain states of consciousness. And everything in our experience correlates with that state of consciousness. And we cannot get to a different state of consciousness unless we release this state and take an act of will to move ourselves to a different state. I'm not condoning taking drugs, by the way. We're going to let the papers go. I'm not condoning taking any sort of thing that enhances. I'm condoning looking at your own state of consciousness. Looking at our own state of consciousness and doing what we need to do to change it. So when we judge others, we are at that state of consciousness that is filled with resentment and anger and condemnation and judgment, and everything in our experience, whether we want it or not, and we probably don't, is going to come at us at that state of consciousness. And when we let go of those judgments and realize that life just is, and people just are, and they screw up, and they hurt us, and they do stupid things, and we screw up, and we hurt other people, and we do stupid things, and it is just what it is, and we let that go, and we love it all anyway, now we're in a new state of consciousness. And the things on this state of consciousness are attracted to us as if by a magnet. But it takes letting go of our judgments and our resentments and our anger, and we have to make a conscious choice to do that. It doesn't just happen. When we judge, we're really judging ourselves. Have you ever noticed, I think in our quiet moments, in our deep, dark, quiet closet of our mind that we don't ever let anyone else see, we judge in others the things we dislike about ourselves. And that's what that's about. And that's why it seems like sometimes things never change. So in forgiveness, we can't continue to judge. There's something called pseudo-forgiveness, which is where you just decide to take the high road, but the other person's still a schmuck. They're still a schmuck, but I'm just going to let them be a schmuck and not let it bother me. I'm bigger than that. I'm going to take the high road. That's not forgiveness, because you're still putting that energy out of anger and resentment and hurt. Now, this is hard to do. I get it. It's hard to do. When we're hurt, when we're angry, when someone we perceive does something to us, it's not easy to just the shooting? What about that? How do we judge that shooter? Well, the question's really up to you. How do you? Do you judge this person as evil, wrong, bad? All those things would probably be true. There's probably evidence for them. What does that do to you? Or do you judge this person as a mentally unstable, misguided person who made a horrible, horrible choice? And the 49 people who lost their lives, what do we think about them? What if their souls came here specifically at this time, at that moment, and were in that nightclub at that time, so that they could leave their physical bodies in order to affect transformation on the planet by calling us to love one another more? What if there was no accident here? And we don't need to judge it. We only need to accept and love anyway. I understand what I'm asking you to do is advanced spirituality. This is not the beginner course. But what if that's the truth? Because it is. So we judge not. So when you hear horrible things in the news, don't judge, don't blame. Just send love to that situation and know that God's sorting it out. Just send love and know that God is in the midst of this too. The next thing we do once we let go of our judgments is we have to reframe the story. The reason we judge is because we tell a story about it. We tell a story about our hurt and our anger and all the terrible things that have happened, or how that person did this to me, or that other person is a bad person, I'm going to stay away from them. So we have a story, and it's that story that keeps going. It's automated, it's automatic, it's, Pavlovian now. Just keeps going in our heads, and that's why we judge, because we don't even go through the conscious steps of, oh, I'm hearing this news, that's reminding of this is how I feel, now I'm judging, I'm going to stop that. It's not like that, it's automatic, it's a knee-jerk response, and that's what we're trying to interrupt. So we have to reframe the story we tell ourselves about whatever the situation is. I just reframed the Orlando story for you. I hope you embrace that and continue to work on that in your own prayer work. But we have to do that every time we're hurt, with everything. So in my own life, I had a great story about my mom. Oh, woe is me. I was just traumatized. I was victimized. My mother was, just horrible, was my story. And there are some facts associated. My mom had some mental illness, and it caused her to be not a very nice person, and that's all factual. But, I carried this for so long, 40 plus years. And then in an interesting twist, I married a man, didn't see it at first, started noticing similar patterns here. Well, of course, that just means that he's also bad, right? He's also evil, wrong, stupid, whatever it was, and I just, lucky me, happened to get 2 nutcases in my life. This is how I felt about it, right? When my mom passed away in 2012, I started seeing a therapist who pointed out that my husband had the exact same form of mental illness that my mother had. That was not an accident. But the story I kept telling myself was that this is the way life is. Wouldn't you know it? Everybody out there is like this. Look, I can show you people as different as my mother and my second husband are both like this. This is just the way life is. And isn't that how we do it? We have enough evidence up in front of us that we just say, this is the way men are, women are, life is, people are. This is just how it is. And we tell this story unconsciously over and over and over again. And so what shows up in our life? Exactly what it takes to prove that that story is true, because it's true for us in our consciousness. Everything happens first up here, and then it plays out in the world for us. After my mom passed away and I realized that my ex-husband had, or at the time my husband had the same illness, I left, got a divorce, but still had all this anger at him, at me. How dare I? How could I be so stupid? How could I pick one with the same problem? How could I not see it? How could, story. I had just become a minister. I put on this planet to help people understand who they are and to know the truth despite conditions. And in order to be able to do that, I had to see in my own life where I was still judging, and where I was still angry, and where I was still hurt, and where I was still wounded. And just having my mother with mental illness wasn't getting me there. So God gave me the great gift of bringing this man into my life so that I could get it from two different sides, so that I could finally wake up and smell the coffee and say, oh, maybe it's me. I'm the common denominator here. As soon as I forgive my mother, and I tell you what, my mom died in October 2012. I took 1 month to do forgiveness work on her, and in January 2013, my marriage fell apart. He was just gone. It was perfect because I didn't need him anymore to show me where I was not forgiving, where I was withholding resentments. And as soon as I reframed the story and stopped being angry at everybody and started to be able to give thanks for this experience so that I could show up as a minister who has compassion for people with mental illness, who has compassion for people in these situations, who has compassion for their caregivers. As soon as I had that, I could forgive everyone, let it go. So where do you need to reframe the story? Edwin Gaines tells the same story about her abusive childhood and reframing it so that she could understand to be a woman of power what the abuse of power looks like. How can you reframe whatever story you're telling yourself? Now, I'd like to tell you I'm an ascended master and that I'm no longer ever angry at my mother or my ex-husband. Okay, it's a practice. We call it a practice, right? But I do see the bigger truth. And so I can get there really quick. But forgiveness is not an event. It's a practice. We do it over and over and over again. It's not something we do once and then we're done. Which leads me to the third point, which is find a technique. Forgiveness isn't an intellectual process. It's a letting go from your heart. It's a letting go from your heart. I think probably everyone in this room has forgiven everybody in their lives forever intellectually. You see the perfection in it. You understand they didn't mean to. They did the best they could at the time with what they had. You know this up here. But if you're still withholding love from that person, if you're still waiting for them to validate you and say, gosh, I'm sorry, before you love them, if you're still waiting for something before you really open your heart and send them all the love you can, then you haven't totally forgiven. Now, there are a ton of forgiveness techniques. I've talked up here about radical forgiveness. We have the book in the bookstore. Edwin Gaines gives you 5 in this chapter on her book. And they go everything from writing a forgiveness journal to saying affirmations. There are a whole bunch of them. I have one that I've shared with several of you individually, but I want to share it with you. And I printed it off. There are sheets in the lobby if this calls to you, okay, of the same thing. This comes out of the financial freedom class and the co-creation work. And when I first found this, I had a colleague who was out to get me. That's just the truth. He was out to get me. I was sure of it. He did a whole bunch of things at work, and he was out to get me. Now, somebody gave me this, and here's what it says at the bottom. This is special, disclaimer. In each of the blanks above, and I'll read it here, insert the name of a person, group, or entity that you are seeking a healing with. Read the prayer aloud at least once a day until some positive change in the relationship has taken place. This is what really caught my attention. You will notice that the other party is either changing in some beneficial way toward you, or they'll simply fade out of your life without incident. I read this, I'm like, you mean I can make him just go away? By reading this aloud every day until he does? That was my goal. I just wanted him to go away. I didn't want to heal him. I didn't want to change my life. I didn't want to send him love. I just wanted him to go away. So my point is, you don't need lofty intentions for this to work. You don't need lofty intentions. But here it is, okay? And I'm just going to use the name John, okay? Just common name. So I'm going to read it as if I'm trying to heal my relationship with John. There's only one life. This life is good. This life is God. This life is my life now. In knowing I am one with the life that is God, I therefore know that I am one with each and every expression of this divine and sacred life, which includes beloved John. I'm going to pause right here, and when I did this the first time on this person, just saying that word, those words together, beloved, was like, I couldn't get it out. Just saying that out would be against me. Together, in the perfect wholeness of the one life that is God, John and I can only be for a fuller and greater expression of our own true nature, which is love. And out of the self-giving nature of this love, there can only be a harmonious integration and a glorious revelation of the wholeness, perfection, and beauty of God through my physical flesh body now. I give thanks for the presence of John in my life, for by this presence I've been shown a part of myself that I have yet to love, a part of myself which I now invite into the wholeness of my being, which is Christ. And it is in this awareness of oneness that I give thanks to the glory of God for the healing power and presence of love in my life. I am grateful God is gracious, and so it is. Amen. I know it actually by heart, but I thought I'd read it to make sure I didn't skip anything, because I did that every day for a year. Whatever the technique is that works for you, like I said, those sheets are out in the lobby. If that one calls to you, take it, make photocopies, read it every day. The end of the story is that I started doing that 30 days afterwards, 30 days. This colleague at work calls me, asks to go to lunch. Takes me to lunch, admits that he was wrong, apologizes for any pain it caused me, and left my life completely. That made me proud. So when it comes to the F word, we must forgive. We must forgive. So remember, judge not. Reframe your story and find a technique that works for you and then work it. But to not forgive isn't an option. Study after study after study shows cancer, heart disease, bankruptcy, divorce, all of these things at the addiction, all of them at the root is resentment that hasn't been released. So for your sake, not anybody else's, forgive. Let's pray. And so it is with grateful thanks that I just open up my heart to the love that is God, the love that is the one, the all-knowing, all-powerful presence that loves no matter what. And I accept to know for each one of us that we are made in the image and likeness of that presence. We are made in the image and likeness of that divine being. And we are called to act like that all the time. So I know for each person present that we set down everything that needs to be set down. And we lift up everything that needs to be lifted up as we open our hearts to the love and peace that comes with true forgiveness. I accept that we let go. We allow that love to flow through us. We allow Spirit to take any burden, any old hurt, any resentment, anything that we are continuing to harbor, because it's not hurting the other person, but it might be killing us. So we let go. We let go of our judgments. We let go of our stories. We practice this technique of forgiveness. And we allow the divine love that is our birthright, that is really the truth of our very being, to flow through us. And so I know as we leave this sanctuary today, we go forward this day and every day, remembering that there is only the one, that we can forgive, that nobody thinks less of us if we just let a hurt go, except our own ego. And so we let that go. And we give thanks for that power and presence of God that is always with us and always in us, and allows us to know a higher truth about each and every individual. We let go. We give thanks for this power within us that lets love fill our hearts all the time. And from that place of gratitude, we just know that all is well. We can I release these words. We can let go of hurt as I release all of my hurt, and I invite you to join me as we just set down everything right here, right now. And we release, and we fall back into the arms of the divine, knowing that God's got us. And we allow that alchemy of love and law to work in our lives to bring forward an inspired result. And so knowing that this is the way the world works, I just let it be so. With profound gratitude, magnificent thanksgiving, I let it be. And so it is. If the ushers would please come forward. So this is the time in our service where we share our prosperity with this center, with one another, in whatever form that looks like to you. So let's repeat the affirmation on the screen. Divine love, as me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, and all that I circulate. And so it is.
I invite you all to be my backup singers.
You say I know it's a waste of time. There's no use trying. So scared that life's gonna pass you by. Your spirit dying. Not long ago, I could feel your strength and your devotion. What was so clear is now overcast with mixed emotion. Deep in your heart is the answer. Find it, I know it'll pull you through. Get on your feet. Yeah! Get up and make it happen. Get on your feet. Stand up and take some action. I think it's true.
Coffee and goodies and some O. Henry bars that are like to die for. Go get them quick. I already had one because, anyway, and some other goodies. And I love it when we make a whole circle and we read one another. I love it. That's great. So we just celebrated. that song from Frozen. Anyway, we let go. We allow God to be God. We allow that life flow to come through us, and we make sure that this is a magnificent week. And so it is. So it is. Now the music.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as our power, family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
The light of
God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. So it is.
Yeah, looks like it is. Yeah.
I'm going to throw this one away, babe.